Hello and welcome to the show. Tonight we're diving headfirst into a pool of ill-gotten gains so deep, Scrooge McDuck himself would drown in it. That's right, folks, we're talking about the extravagant lifestyles of the world's richest dictators. From private jets to luxury yachts, these leaders have amassed fortunes that will leave you speechless. And the truly tragic part? They've done it all while their own people struggle to put food on the table. Buckle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride through a moral minefield of excess. First up, we have Muammar Gaddafi, the self-proclaimed brotherly leader of Libya. This is a man who reportedly had an estimated net worth of $200 billion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of over 150 countries. Gaddafi's wealth was intrinsically tied to Libya's vast oil reserves. He basically treated the entire country like his personal piggy bank. We're talking a fleet of private jets, a yacht so big it could qualify as its own sovereign nation, and lavish palaces. But the real kicker? Gaddafi once threw a lavish party for his son's birthday, flying in Beyoncé, Mariah Carey, and Usher to perform. Because nothing says happy birthday like a private concert from some of the world's biggest pop stars, am I right? Next up, we travel to the land of the pharaohs, where Hosni Mubarak, the former president of Egypt, ruled with an iron fist for 3 decades. His estimated wealth? Somewhere between a modest 40 billion and a jaw-dropping 70 billion. Mubarak's family enjoyed a lifestyle most of us can only dream of. Designer clothes, check. Lavish vacations, check. A seemingly endless supply of champagne and caviar, check. And then there were the rumors of vast art collections hidden away in secret vaults, and enough gold bars to make Fort Knox look like a child's piggy bank. But it wasn't all sunshine and roses for Mubarak. Remember the Arab Spring? Yeah, that whole revolution thing kind of put a damper on his spending spree. Now let's hop over to Syria, where we meet Bashar al-Assad, a man who inherited a country and decided to treat it like his own personal ATM. His estimated fortune? A cool $22 billion. Assad's wealth is deeply intertwined with Syria's most lucrative sectors: oil, telecommunications, and the weapons trade. He runs these industries with the same iron grip he uses to control the country, ensuring that a healthy chunk of the profits ends up in his pocket. Forget about your typical dictator's collection of sports cars and yachts. Assad prefers to invest his ill-gotten gains in real estate. We're talking swanky apartments in London, sprawling mansions in Moscow, and luxurious villas in Dubai. While Syria crumbles around him, Assad is busy building himself a global real estate empire. It's like he's playing a real-life game of Monopoly, but instead of passing go and collecting $200, he's just taking whatever he wants and leaving the rest of the country to fight over the scraps. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to dive into the world of Zine el-Abidine Ben Ali, the former president of Tunisia, a man whose greed knew no bounds. His estimated wealth, a cool $7 billion. Now you might be thinking, $7 billion isn't that much compared to some of the other dictators we've covered. But what Ben Ali lacked in sheer quantity of wealth, he more than made up for in sheer audacity. Take, for instance, the time his wife, Layla Trabelsi, allegedly fled the country with $37 million worth of gold bars. But Ben Ali's greed didn't stop there. He controlled a vast network of businesses in Tunisia, everything from hotels and airlines to banks and telecommunications companies. His downfall, however, was just as dramatic as his rise to power. Remember the Arab Spring? Well, it all started in Tunisia with protests against Ben Ali's corrupt regime. Buckle up, petrolheads, because we're about to enter the automotive nirvana that is the Sultan of Brunei's garage. Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah, the absolute ruler of this tiny oil-rich nation, boasts a net worth of $30 billion and a car collection that would make Jay Leno weep with envy. We're talking about a collection so vast, so extravagant, it would make a sheikh blush. How vast, you ask? Try a cool 600 Rolls-Royces. And if that's not enough to get your motor running, consider this. The Sultan also owns a fleet of custom-made Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Aston Martins. But the Sultan's automotive excesses don't end there. He is also the proud owner of not one, but 2 gold-plated Boeing 747s. Because, you know, sometimes commercial flights just aren't luxurious enough, even when you're flying in your own private jet. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to enter a world of wealth so obscene, so mind-bogglingly vast, it makes Jeff Bezos look like a pauper begging for spare change. We're talking, of course, about the House of Saud, the ruling royal family of Saudi Arabia. This family, with King Salman at the helm, boasts an estimated net worth of $1.4 trillion. To put that in perspective, that's more than the combined GDP of the entire continent of Africa. And what do you do with that kind of money? Well, if you're the House of Saud, you buy yourself a country. And then you fill that country with the most extravagant, the most opulent, the most jaw-droppingly expensive things money can buy. We're talking palaces so big, they make Buckingham Palace look like a garden shed. We're talking about a level of wealth and extravagance that is simply incomprehensible to us mere mortals. Welcome back, comrades, to our capitalist critique of the lavish lifestyles enjoyed by those who claim to despise our very system. Today's target? None other than Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, a man who's made a career out of railing against the evils of the West while simultaneously amassing a personal fortune estimated to be between a modest $30 billion and a truly staggering $95 billion. While the Iranian people are told to tighten their belts and embrace the virtues of a simple life, their dear leader is living it up like a modern-day sultan, complete with a vast financial empire that would make even the most ruthless Wall Street tycoon blush. Khamenei's wealth, much like his Western counterparts, is deeply intertwined with his nation's most lucrative export oil. As the supreme leader, he controls a vast network of companies and foundations that benefit directly from Iran's oil revenues. But Khamenei's financial reach extends far beyond the oil fields of Iran. He's got his fingers in all sorts of pies, from real estate to telecommunications to construction. He's like a one-man embodiment of the military-industrial complex, except instead of building bombs, he's building himself a financial fortress that would make Fort Knox look like a child's piggy bank. Let's talk about Suharto, the former president of Indonesia. For over 3 decades, he treated Indonesia like his own personal fiefdom, amassing a fortune estimated to be between $15 billion and $35 billion. Now you might be thinking, those are rookie numbers compared to some of the other dictators we've covered. But what Suharto lacked in sheer quantity of wealth, he more than made up for in sheer creativity. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill embezzlement scheme. Suharto was playing 3D chess while everyone else was struggling with checkers. He controlled vast swaths of the Indonesian economy, from banking and telecommunications to mining and agriculture. He was basically the puppet master of a giant, corrupt marionette show. And the Indonesian people were the ones forced to watch as their country's resources were plundered right before their eyes. But the real kicker? Suharto didn't keep all the loot for himself. He generously shared the spoils with his family and cronies, creating a vast network of corruption that extended to every corner of Indonesian society. Hold on to your monocles, folks, because we're about to dive into the world of Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, the president of Equatorial Guinea, a man who proves that even in the smallest of ponds, a dictator can still be a very big fish. Obiang, you see, is a man of discerning tastes, a connoisseur of the finer things in life. And by finer things, I mean things like a $35 million mansion in Malibu, California. But Obiang's extravagance doesn't end there. This is a man who likes to travel in style. And by style, I mean a fleet of luxury cars so extensive, so opulent, it would make a Saudi prince weep with envy. We're talking Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, you name it. Obiang's probably got at least 3 of them in his garage. While Obiang is busy living it up in Malibu and cruising around in his fleet of luxury cars, the people of Equatorial Guinea are struggling with poverty, disease, and a complete lack of basic human rights. And finally we come to Omar al-Bashir, the former president of Sudan, a man who truly embodies the phrase, "cash is king." We're talking an estimated $9 billion, much of it siphoned directly from Sudan's oil industry. Now you might be thinking, we've seen bigger numbers, but what Bashir lacked in sheer quantity of ill-gotten gains, he more than made up for in sheer brazenness. When authorities finally raided his home, they stumbled upon a cool $130 million in cash. That's right, folks, cold, hard cash, just sitting there in suitcases like something out of a Hollywood heist movie. But here's the truly tragic part. While Bashir was busy stuffing his mattresses with cash, the people of Sudan were suffering through civil war, famine, and unimaginable poverty. It's a tale as old as time, folks. Well, folks, there you have it. A whirlwind tour of the opulent lives of some of the world's richest dictators. We've seen obscene wealth, unimaginable extravagance, and a complete disregard for human decency. If you thought this was shocking, stay tuned for our next video on how the Cali cartel hides their trillions. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the opulent lives of the world's richest dictators.